What's going on? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 13 of Hell's Paradise and the finale of the first season, in which we will be reviewing the episode, but also this season. So stay tuned for that. And we'll be talking full spoilers, of course, since we are talking about that. So hopefully you've had a chance to watch this episode and hopefully the season. You just watched the last episode out of nowhere. That'd be kind of weird. You missed a lot if you did that. So real quick recap. There's actually quite a bit of things that happen in this episode, but we'll keep it basic and then we can talk about the details. Basically, this continues from the last episode where they're fighting the Tenzin that had turned into its monster form. And at the very end of the last episode, Shion, the blind samurai, showed up, cut all the vines the flowers that will inevitably turn them into tan flowers. In this, he is continuing to fight it as they are kind of retreating out of the way for a second. They are able to cut the flowers off of Senta, the guy who got hit with the injections last episode, trying to do something for him, even though he seems pretty badly damaged. And then, I don't remember her name, but the little girl who's been hanging out with Shion is able to energize people by hugging them, apparently. She does it to Yuzuriha, she does it to Sagiri, and apparently she had done it to Shion at some point when they were in the jungle. So that re-energizes them. Shion is very powerful now compared to what he was before. He's been practicing in the jungle on his way here, and apparently he has the correct kind of energy to be able to fight against this Tenzin, as is something that they have kind of talked about earlier a couple episodes ago, or maybe an episode ago, I don't remember. But anyway, so he's planning on trying to do this himself, but of course Sagiri and the little girl don't want to just lose him to this battle, so they go to help with a little bit of help from Yuzuriha, even though she does not want to get into combat because she's a shinobi and she's thinking about herself mostly. She lubes them up with her weird lubrication medicine, so they won't be able to get scratched and start growing flowers. Mentioning that there is a point during this fight that Shion got scratched, started growing flowers. He cut them off himself, but this is causing him to bleed. So there's not a whole lot of longevity to that plan. They concoct a plan, and they're going to have Shion attack from behind because Sagiri tells them that the tendon, their weak spot, is in their abdomen area, like their stomach or something like that. I forgot.
Yeah, whatever word she used, I think was a word for the abdomen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that's the plan. But eventually, through a whole fight scene, and Shion kind of doing the Tanjiro thing and going fight no matter what, just keep going, battling his own rage against wanting to destroy this thing, essentially for Tenza. He's able to get behind, and in the last moment when he's deciding where he's going to strike, Senta tells him where the tendon's at, which is seems like this little sphere flower thing in the back. In which he strikes that, and the Tenzin's heads are in there. And apparently the strike worked correctly because the Tenzin realized what happened, thanked him for taking it out after so long, and it died, leaving a bunch of flowers all over the place. So they have defeated their first Tenzin, and they go off, find a building to debrief. They discuss what they figured out. They are finding new clothes, which will be great for season 2 because they'll look different. But also because of the story, Shion is covered in blood, so he needed something else. During this talk, they start talking about a lot of things, but a big thing that comes out of it is they start speculating, at least Yuzuriha does. Oh, I skipped a whole part. Before this happened, Yuzuriha only had enough medicine for herself and somebody else. And so she did some triage and decided to save Shion over Senta because he's going to be more useful moving forward. And then she kind of comforts him she's there, but she's very much a realist in the situation, and Senta passes. So he is out of the picture, even though they try to save him. And this kind of illuminates Yuzuriha is a bit cold in her calculations, but not incorrect. And this was hard for Sagiri. Okay, so anyway, they're changing clothes, they're talking, they're debriefing on what they learned from the fight and what they've learned being on the island, and they come to an idea, possibly, that the whole theory or the whole story behind Gabimaru's master being immortal could have been an illusion by the master, but also, if that were to be true, it could also maybe explain Gabimaru's memory problems, but his wife might not exist at all. So this is leaving us with a bit of area to speculate a bit on.
Dangling carrot.
Yeah, exactly. So especially, for the end of the season, it made sense when they dropped that. I'm like, oh, okay, so we don't know. And yeah, we have a couple flashes over to Gabimaru and his group. Not really a whole lot's going on there. He's sleeping in a cave with them, and I forgot the little girl's name. It starts with an M, I think. But she's looking at him, and part of the top of his head, she can't see his Tau. It's gone. So something's up with him. And yeah, let's see. What am I missing at the very end?
That he doesn't remember how he got there, what's happened, who anyone is. He remembers himself.
He's having memory issues.
And it seems to be his most recent memory is that he is the top assassin of his clan. And so it seems like he has developed a sort of amnesia, I suppose you would say, but of events. He's just head trauma, basically.
Yeah, because he doesn't know where he's at, and he's also saying that he's just going to play along with them, but get as much from them as he can. So he's kind of reverting back to possibly his original programming.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, we had a final after credits scene of two more, at least, shogunate who are going to be sent to the island. One in which looking like, what was his name from Death Note? Q?
I have no idea.
Is that his name?
I don't know anything about that show.
There's some detective guy in that show. I don't know anything about that either, but he was like a fan favorite, and this guy's eyes kind of remind me of that dude. So yeah. Anyway, with the Tenzin taken down, the knowledge gained of how to fight these things a little bit, and the possibility of new people showing up on the island, that's a wrap for season 1. What do we think?
It was nice to see, obviously in the beginning where we had the fight, basically them figuring it out kind of as they go, but also that, through their struggles and whatnot, they've kind of all learned to harness their life force in their own ways. The moment with the mountain child or whatever, with her talking about like hugging people and passing it on, it seemed like it implied, and maybe I misread it, that it worked better on the blind guy. And I wonder if that has to do with the yin and yang principle in the show,
possibly
about physical contact between men and women. And I also wonder that about that is mentioned later about the blind guy's talking with Sagiri about like why she feels so attached to Gabimaru, and I also wonder if that is also part of that yin and yang idea, and
possibly
maybe they just have very compatible energies. So just random thoughts I've had in this episode. The fight was cool, like on a strategic sense, because it was cool to see him kind of break down and also go through the motions and whatnot. I thought it was super creative, especially with like I can't remember the shinobi's name, but she
Yuzuriha.
She with the whole like giving them an extra layer, basically armor with using the medicine, was kind of an interesting idea. And then covering in bandages to kind of make like almost like a liquid bubble that just kind of hangs out on top of their skin. And then
liquid armor.
Yeah. And then the guy with the glasses before he passed,
Senta.
he having being having been a bookworm for most of his life, knowing that flowers gather their energy, food and stuff like that from a different part, and was able to give that information out was very appropriate, but also kind of neat to see that they are definitely more plant than person.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It kind of really drove home that they are more like a plant than
Yeah.
anything. Like the human version of them is almost like a shell, because of course they turn into these crazy monsters, and once it was defeated, it just turned into more flowers.
Well, and it looked like it turned into tan.
Yeah.
And that's what created all the flowers. Which is
Might be
kind
all
of
the
interesting.
tan that it had
Possibly,
released.
yeah. But also, this is like all part of like one person, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see how that will affect the others going forward as well. I do think the bait at the end with throwing questions about Gabi Maru's story perhaps being false was a good way to throw some questions in, because the show has basically been that, where like you get some answers and they go, but here's some more questions, here's some answers, here's some more questions. It's been probably my favorite part of the show because it's really good at like building this world that they exist in.
Yeah, they keep throwing curveballs, because early on I was like, the show can't just be them being victims to Tenzin. They're gonna have to find a way to fight them. And then we found out with the whole Tao thing, people are all accessing that in different ways, but still basically, they're becoming able to fight back. But are they going to be able to figure out where their weak spot is, essentially, and if they're the right energy or whatever? But then, like, now that they've defeated a Tenzin, which is something I've been kind of waiting for, I was like, well, what do they do next? They're just going to go through and kill all the Tenzin, but then, like, they're throwing the curveball of like Gabimaru might have a memory issue. He might not be who he thinks he is, and now new people are showing up. So,
Well, and also that the young almost Tenzin, when she was looking at Tao and he was missing a huge chunk of it, that's kind of interesting as well. Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
So yeah, this now that you can't feel comfortable in them going like, oh, we beat a Tenzin, we can do it
Yeah.
again, because now things are getting thrown around again. So
Yeah, is Gabimaru gonna become a problem for them? And then with the two brothers, like it showed them again, kind of talking about like being careful about how you use your Tao, and it can make changes to your body, and it again reminded us of the markings on his neck and stuff. So there's a lot of like really good things to chew on to go into the next season, which is I think a good thing, because
yeah, I was wondering how they're gonna do season 2. If it's just gonna be like them on the island fighting the rest of the Tenzin, I would watch that. But yeah, now that they're introducing new elements, especially with the other criminal on the island, we don't know what he's going to be up to, because I don't think he's going to have any allegiance with anyone. So
yeah, for sure. And then with the shogunate sending two more Asaimon to the island is kind of like just another curveball, and that was an after credit scene, though it ended super abruptly.
And are they like, top tier, save them for last shoguns who are going to be there to get the assignment done, whether it's to help the other shoguns or not?
Well, I don't know if I caught it right or not, but it seemed like they had implied that they'd done that before to go check on the expedition people. So maybe they've been to the island before and back. So
yeah, I'm curious if they're going to be an issue for everybody.
yeah, because I mean, I assume they're going to be more of that mindset of just being absolutely loyal to the shogunate versus the ones that are still alive on the island at this point are just in survival mode. Like, that's the only thought in the mind at this point. And the criminals are their allies at this point,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good information that they've wrapped the show up with, and it has become far more interesting as it's gone on, which I really appreciate. And I am looking forward to seeing what season 2 even has to offer at that
Yeah, I'm
point.
curious,
So,
because it's going to be different. I mean, they already have implied that, and I'm also curious, where do you go from here? So,
yeah.
especially with a show that's just based on people on an island, and they've already gotten to the center of it, so they're going to have to change things up quite a bit to keep it interesting. So,
well, yeah, and like is the story are they gonna leave the island and then have other issues follow them still? I mean, who knows, right? So like,
Yeah.
kind of, I'm happy that it's a little more in depth than the show definitely implies in the beginning. So, but yeah, it was good. I liked it. So.
Yeah, I think it was a decent finale for the season, and I think it maintained the momentum the last like 3 or 4 episodes we're kind of building up towards. So I think it worked really well in that sense. The fight scene was decent. I do like Shion as a character. He's interesting. I like his new little buddy. Who is calling him master, even though he said earlier on not to call him that. They got a good dynamic. The defeat of the Tenzin was good to see because it's just been waiting for that to happen. So it's happened and it was done well. I like the way they finished it off. I like that it was like almost like its curse had been released because it was like thanking him for it. Prolonging Senta's death was kind of interesting. I mean, he was kind of there to give them the info they needed to defeat the Tenzin, but at the same time, we got 2 sequences of Senta dying. So, but I think they handled the second time pretty decently because we didn't see anything. It's just like, yeah, he's gone now. But we thought that the first time too. So, is he really? I'm sure he is.
I mean, they buried him. So.
Yeah. maybe he's gonna punch out of the ground and be like, I got more information for you guys. The questions being raised about Gabimaru are interesting and also I feel needed for the story. So I will be curious to see where that goes, and that he's having some kind of memory issue right now is also interesting, and I'm sure will be a big part of the story in season 2. Reminder, if you've read the manga, we haven't, please no spoilers. Thank you. And yeah, well, everything was pretty good. The ending was interesting as well. I'm glad we stuck around for that. I always kind of scrubbed towards the end across the timeline of the video just to make sure we don't miss something after the credits, and I had noticed something I typically don't see in the end credits, so we watched that, and that was interesting. It was very brief. I feel like it was almost a hint for anyone watching it, like, oh, there's more people coming. But I feel like if you read the manga, it was maybe a little more impactful because it showed one dude's face. Like, we're supposed to be like, whoa, shit, it's him. But like, we don't.
It's kind of like at the end of Chainsaw Man where they showed the character walking through the alley. The manga readers knew instantly who it was, but the anime people were like,
yeah. So it seems like a similar thing. It worked for us to know people are coming, but that close up of the guy's face meant nothing to me because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is. But yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, it was a cool episode. And it felt kind of final, even though if they didn't make a season 2, it wouldn't be satisfying. But
that I agree with.
But it was satisfying for the season to end that way, I feel, because it's a good end point. The Tenzin got killed, they're recovering. Okay, Maru's got some stuff going on with him, so it's like, okay,
a little sprinkle of mystery.
Yep. So we can start season 2 and start fresh in terms of a new arc. Is it coming out in 2026?
I don't know. I just make it a crack of how long it takes anime to continue. So
I feel like it comes out quickly. Well, a lot of animes in general come out quickly, but yeah, although I'm hoping for Chainsaw Man season 2.
It's the only thing they haven't announced out of their shows. So
I really want that. Yeah, fun episode, good finale to a up and down in its momentum show. So yeah, with that, maybe we can talk about the season. Do you have anything else you want to say on the finale?
No, not really.
So we'll grade it, okay. But yeah, should I go first since you did your impressions first?
Sure.
I think I'm feeling with this, and I want to grade it higher, but it's really hard because there's some parts that really kind of didn't work very well for me and felt like really long, but then the end I think kind of saved it. I think I'm going to go with a strong B-. I did want to give it like a B plus area, but I remember back to like 3-4 episodes in a row where I felt like I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue the show or not. I think the show ended well, and that definitely would probably bump it up to a B plus for me. because I did really like the last like 4 episodes,
Yeah,
four or
same.
5 episodes. But there was a really like the first like 2 episodes I thought were really good, and then there's this like period where like just
lulls.
really lulled, and we're like really hanging out with certain ideas for a long time, and they meant something, but like the amount of time we spent with those without really pushing the story forward didn't work for me. And maybe in the manga it works well, but in the anime for me it felt long, and I felt like we were just kind of wasting time introducing a lot of new characters, which is fine, but like yeah, it didn't seem like we were really getting anywhere. Once the ball started rolling though, it got a lot better. So yeah, really strong B minus. Wish I could have graded it higher, but I got to be honest with myself on this. But I am excited for season 2, and I will definitely watch it because I'm invested now in the story. And like I said, I think the ending of this season, things got interesting. So definitely, I wouldn't call it a slow burn, but I think it got its footing finally, and that's good because if the finale or the last couple episodes weren't good, it'd be pretty easy for me to just kind of forget about this show and be like, yeah, watch it was all right, and move on with my life. But I do want to see season 2, so I think it saved itself for me personally. So yeah, strong B minus, almost a B.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with you with the last third of the season being the strong point of the show.
Much better, yeah.
In the beginning, it was good at creating interest for sure, but there definitely was a bit of a lull, though, with good information in it, but pacing was kind of weird in the middle.
And absent fight scenes.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I learned by the end of the show that the fight scenes were going to be okay at best for the most part. So.
Well, and I'll take okay fight scenes,
Yeah.
but like the just no fight scene, I was like,
Yeah, off screening.
not really. Yeah, I'm not really.
It's
into
not
that.
satisfying. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But I am glad that even even with that finale, with the fight, the only thing we really had that was like kind of, blink and it's over type things. It was the dude's attacks, but it was supposed to be representing his speed. So like there's a little more of an excuse there, I think.
Yeah, I was satisfied with it.
Yeah.
With the fight.
Yeah, so I agree with all that. I do think the story itself is very interesting, and I like the lore they're building, and the direction certain characters are going. Specifically, like with the brothers, have become like this interesting question of like what's going to happen with the guy who's like getting these purple scars on his body. I think that's a pretty interesting aspect. I also with the curveball with what's going on with Gabby Mara's memory is super interesting as well. So I think they did a good job in that regard, especially towards the end, making me interested for more. I also am very interested to see season 2 at this point because I'm invested in these mysteries that they've presented.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, different elements going on right now.
Yeah, hopefully they don't introduce too many more new characters because
Yeah.
I can't even remember the names of the ones that are in it now.
Yeah, I feel like we finally were getting to like a reasonable amount of characters. So I'm like, okay, I know these characters, and
But I'm admittedly bad at that anyways. Yeah, and hopefully if I had any, before I give my grade, if I had any hopes for the second season, would be hopefully some better pacing and maybe a pinch better animation on my wish list. It wouldn't kill it for me if they didn't, but
yeah, if they
I would like it.
If they greenlit season 2, hopefully it gets a little more of a budget.
Yeah. That being said, I also feel comfortable with a B minus. I can't go lower because I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
And
give it a
I
C.
think C is also fine, but I would probably have some stronger weaknesses to talk about at that point. But there are a lot of shows that I would probably grade higher and still consider Bs. So I think that's where I'm comfortable as a B minus right now. And as far as like the show as a whole, I mean, that's up to them, the story and the way it's adapted via MAPPA going forward. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with the same thing. I don't think I think it could belong in a C territory for maybe somebody else, but for me, there was plenty of stuff I liked about it.
Agreed.
So it wasn't C territory. It wasn't just kind of passing for me. There's some things about it I really dug, but there's also a lot of, for me personally, weaknesses to the show that I would be dishonest for me personally if I graded it too high because there was some pretty major issues early on for me that could have made me stop watching the show.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I didn't. So it did stick the landing, get its footing. So that's good. But yeah, so 2 B minuses. We liked the show. We are invested. We'll be watching season 2. Do you have anything else you want to say on it? No. All right, well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of episode 13. What do you think about the events that happened? What do you think about the fight? What do you think about what's going on with Gabby Maru? What do you think about the people that are going to be showing up to the island, possibly? I assume they will. What did you think about the whole season 1? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think there was... did you like the whole thing, possibly? You're like, I don't know what slow parts you're talking about. Or maybe you thought it was very slow. Or somewhere in between. Let us know everything you're thinking in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this review of Hell's Paradise. It's going to be a while until we do Hell's Paradise again, so stay tuned. We are going to be starting Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. I know a lot of you guys will be watching that. I know it's a really popular one. We did watch Jujutsu Kaisen 0 so very recently. So if you want to see our review of that, check that out. And then...
I think we just have to lock in a second title for you after that.
Yeah, or... we'll probably check out Rurouni Kenshin, see if that does anything for me. But I don't know if we'll be doing episodic reviews of that. And then that other Heavenly Delusion. Yeah, I would like to maybe watch that some more. I don't know if we'll do episodic reviews of that since we're already episodes into it. But if we do finish that season, we can do a season review as well, but we'll figure it out. But the only one that's locked in for sure is Jujutsu Kaisen 2. I'm already invested in that show, so, and after watching 0, I feel a little more invested than I was before. So yeah, it'll be fun, and we'll be doing the episodic reviews for that. So, and that's starting Thursday. So this week we'll have a review for that. But yeah, that's everything. So I've been Seth, this has been Chevy, and we'll talk to you guys later.